Imagine celebrating the happiest news of your life, only for it to unravel into a nightmare of betrayal, jealousy, and a chilling attempt on your life. What you're about to hear is the story of how my sister-in-law's twisted plan to humiliate me backfired so spectacularly, it landed her in jail and destroyed her own marriage. For 7 incredible years, my husband Harry and I have built a beautiful life together. And honestly, it's been perfect, except for one constant toxic shadow, his sister Kayla. While I love every other aspect of our marriage, Kayla has always brought nothing but negativity. Don't get me wrong, when I first met her, I genuinely liked her. But over time, that rapidly changed. She is manipulative, deeply negative, and frankly poisonous. Knowing the kind of person she is, I spent years trying my best to stay on her good side. Harry has quite a history with Kayla's meddling. When he was 17, he dated Kayla's best friend, but broke up with her because Kayla put immense pressure on him to stay with her. Then, when he was 23 and single again, she insisted he should be with another one of her friends. He disagreed, and she actually went crying to their parents, demanding he marry someone she approved of. Thankfully, his parents largely ignored her dramatic pleas. While Harry and I were falling in love, his parents were incredibly supportive. Kayla, however, treated me with an icy coldness from day one. She would constantly bring up Harry's exes for no reason, praising how well they were doing and subtly suggesting he reach out to them. This went on for ages. Even Harry found it strange and would tell her to stop. But then Kayla would fly into a rage, mocking me, calling me jealous, and declaring Harry deserved someone better. It got worse. She'd deliberately invite one of Harry's exes to family dinners, claiming she'd accidentally run into them. Her obsession with my life was unnerving. I have a public Instagram account, and she was always the first to view my stories. If a man commented on my photo, she'd run to Harry, complaining about me posting indecent images. Harry and I would just chuckle at her ridiculous claims. When Harry and I decided to move in together, Kayla tried to persuade him to break up with me, telling him I had many defects as a woman, and that she could find him someone far better. After all my efforts to be kind to her, that comment deeply wounded me. Sadly, Kayla's treatment of me only escalated once Harry and I got engaged. When we announced our engagement, everyone cheered, but Kayla was unnervingly quiet. Then, to everyone's shock, she sprang from her chair and stormed out. Later, she called Harry, sobbing and screaming about how she, his closest confidant, should have been the first to know, not just another face in the crowd. She then messaged me, a borderline threatening text, advising me on how to treat her brother, because she had always been the only female in his life. I nearly shuddered at the strangeness of it. I left her message on read, knowing it would infuriate her even more, but I simply couldn't bring myself to respond. From that day forward, Kayla progressively ignored me whenever she saw me. For some reason, she still involved herself in all the wedding preparations, dress shopping, bridal shower, despite both my future mother-in-law and Harry calling her out multiple times. Her criticism of the wedding reached new heights, as she openly expressed her unhappiness with my choices. Then came my breaking point. Kayla overheard me talking about centerpieces with my future mother-in-law. She immediately started mocking me, saying my choice had no class, and that this was exactly why Harry should marry someone better. The words just snapped something inside me. I lost it. I yelled at her, making it clear she was no longer invited to our wedding, telling her I couldn't stand her constant taunting and criticism anymore. Kayla gasped, shocked, as if she'd never expected me to stand up to her. My mother-in-law backed me up, which infuriated Kayla even more. Kayla called Harry, whining about how I'd embarrassed her and insisting he control me, his future wife. Harry, however, strongly supported my decision, telling her she wouldn't be invited unless she atoned. She grudgingly texted me an apology. I read it, and once again left it on scene. I was exhausted with wedding planning, and her drama was the last thing I needed. In the end, I did let her come to the wedding, mostly to avoid her criticizing us afterward. Everyone else, guests included, happily followed the pink and pastel dress code. Kayla, though, arrived looking like she was attending a funeral, a floor-length black gown with a veil. To say we were stunned is an understatement. She went around to everyone, sharing her grief at losing her brother to another woman. Harry confronted her at the reception, but she insisted she had the right to wear what she chose and that I was too domineering. Her non-stop scene-making persisted, and eventually my in-laws ordered her to leave. I was mortified. Ever since that day, I've avoided her. When my son Nate was born, I strictly forbade Kayla from being anywhere near him. She tried to fight it, but Harry's parents had my back. They understood exactly why I wanted her far from my infant. 2 years prior, Kayla had suffered a devastating miscarriage with her then-boyfriend, Jamie. It shattered her. It was a truly depressing time for everyone, and Harry and I, already having Nate, felt terrible for her. We decided to be a little more lenient after her loss. We welcomed her to our house so she could connect with Nate. Surprisingly, she was quite lovely to our son. She seemed to have changed at first, but with time, she reverted to her old self. She constantly talked about how difficult her life was, how nothing ever went her way, blaming ex-friends or managers for upsetting her life. I've learned she is never wrong in her own mind, always playing the victim, and rarely acknowledges her own flaws. This year, she decided to get married and invited everyone, except us. Harry was shocked, assuming our relationship had improved. When we questioned her, despite never doing anything to her, she explained she wouldn't let me come because I would cause a disturbance. I called her, asking what on earth she meant. Kayla confessed she had deliberately worn black to our wedding, and now she was worried I might do the same to hers, which is why she wanted me off-site. Outraged by her manipulation, I told Harry everything. After discussing it with his parents, Harry decided to let Kayla know that they wouldn't be attending her wedding, nor would they pay for it. This sent Kayla into a tearful frenzy, blaming me for starting this disaster. Her husband Jamie, however, told her she had no right to point fingers, as she had freely admitted her own error. Kayla tried to brush it off, saying I should just get over it, since our wedding was long ago. Later, she contacted me to apologize and beg for forgiveness, as my in-laws were still refusing to pay for her wedding. And though I hate to admit it, Kayla can be incredibly charming and convincing when she wants something. I wanted to move past the drama, so I forgave her. Her wedding to Jamie went perfectly. We all showed up and we all had fun. Not even 6 months later, Kayla appeared at our door, complaining about her marriage failing. Harry and I let her stay with us for a few days, where she'd spend endless hours venting about Jamie. They seemed to be struggling to conceive, and Kayla was obviously blaming him for everything. When I tried to talk to her, she insisted it was entirely his responsibility. When she wasn't grumbling about her husband, she was hyper-focused on our lives, trying to create drama where there was none. For instance, I usually go to the gym every morning before work. If I'm running late, I sometimes grab my work clothes so I can finish my workout, shower, and change at the gym. Kayla observed this for some time and had many questions. Why are you bathing? Why do you even need to visit the gym? I didn't give it much thought, simply telling her I liked staying fit and disliked showing up to the office sweaty. She would just nod and lick her lips. Then, one day at lunch, my mother-in-law was telling us about a friend who was divorcing her husband and taking half his assets after discovering his adultery. Kayla abruptly interrupted her, turning to Harry and asking, "Did you, in my name, sign a prenup before you got married?" We all paused, forks hovering over our plates, staring at her. She looked at Harry expectantly, as if I wasn't even there. Harry, who doesn't mince words, told her directly that since both he and I made good money, we saw no need for a prenup. Kayla snorted, saying he could be blindsided any day, and that cheats abound today. Her statements were incredibly offensive. I asked her to clarify exactly what she meant. That's when Kayla started in, saying I was obviously meeting someone, since I was always carrying a change of clothes everywhere, and as Harry's sister, it was her obligation to warn her brother. These remarks were utterly shocking. My in-laws immediately intervened, telling her not to fabricate such things and advising her not to interfere in others' affairs. Without missing a beat, Kayla doubled down, emphasizing she was only trying to be there for her brother. Then she dropped the bomb. She started to joke if our son Nate was indeed Harry's son, because he didn't quite look like him. I swear, I watched the redness of pure wrath spread across Harry's face. In my life, I had never seen him so enraged. Looking Kayla squarely in the eye, he informed her that she wasn't a mother yet, because she didn't deserve to be one, and that her child would be better off in paradise than with someone like her. Kayla's lips hung open in stunned disbelief. My in-laws watched silently as Harry unleashed on Kayla, calling her a shameless person trying to ruin everything because her life had nothing to offer. He told her she was merely a loser, doing nothing all day while her husband worked nonstop. He kept saying that since she was plainly projecting, she should focus on her own marriage instead of pointing fingers at me and asking about prenups. Reduced to tears, Kayla began to wail, turning to Jamie for comfort. He sat next to her, utterly silent. Harry, who never has these kinds of breakdowns, was still fuming. I stroked his hand, and my mother-in-law came over to calm him down, understanding just how annoying Kayla could be. Harry apologized for what his sister had said about our son, and I just nodded. After years of taking Kayla's abuse, I was somewhat relieved that my husband had finally stood up for me so publicly. Once he cooled off, he apologized to Jamie, but completely ignored Kayla. That day, after lunch, we returned to having no interaction with Kayla. Her actions were impacting Harry, not just me. We simply barred her from everything. That afternoon, my in-laws talked to us and agreed Kayla had gone too far this time. They saw how their usually quiet son had completely lost it because Kayla wouldn't stop pushing him. We didn't speak to her for an entire year after that, and everything ran smoothly without problems. 2 months ago, I discovered I was pregnant again. It was quite unexpected, given our lack of effort, but we felt incredibly blessed to be welcoming another family member. We decided to announce it on Harry's birthday, as we were waiting for the perfect moment. My in-laws were throwing a big celebration in their backyard to honor Harry, inviting close friends and relatives. Kayla chose that day to show her face, having heard about the party from others. When we saw her, Harry and I were staggered. She came up to Harry, hugged him, and told him how much she'd missed him and how sorry she was for their last talk. Harry took my hand and advised his sister to apologize to me for pointing fingers at my character. Kayla nodded, looked at me, and apologized. She even told me she had been attending therapy for the past few months and had come to realize how inappropriate her behavior had been. Though I disagreed with just about everything she said, I nodded politely. This was Harry's celebration, and I wanted to be cordial. My in-laws checked in on us, telling us they'd kick her out if we felt uncomfortable, as they hadn't known she was coming. Harry, however, insisted on not creating a scene, so we let it go. It felt strange. Kayla was laughing and socializing with everyone, seeming overly optimistic, completely out of character. But she had mentioned therapy, so I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. When it came time to cut the cake, Harry spoke movingly about how he was the luckiest man on earth, appreciative of yet another year spent with a woman like me. His remarks made me flush with delight, just like when we first started dating all those years ago. I couldn't help but cherish the fact that Harry and I were still so intensely in love. Then, Harry and I decided to share our fantastic news. Grinning, we announced we were having a baby. Everyone paused, then erupted in delighted cheers. My mother rushed to hug me, tears streaming down her face, as my father-in-law saluted Harry and me, his own eyes wet. Everyone was eager to know if we'd chosen baby names, and was clearly overjoyed for us. Kayla was the one sore thumb that stuck out. She seemed stunned. Her mood shifted, and she simply turned away, looking irritated. I assumed maybe she was processing things slowly. I was a little concerned she would ruin yet another party for us, but I was quickly distracted by other people coming up to chat. I got up to help my in-laws carry lunch, but Harry and my parents begged me to stay seated, telling me I shouldn't even move at this point. As I was calmly waiting for Harry to bring me a meal, Kayla approached me, beaming. She said she personally wanted to offer me dinner, since she was so excited about my pregnancy. She handed me a dish. As she passed me the plate, she even said she wanted to make it up to me for all the times she'd been nasty in the past. I nodded, politely accepting. She then turned to go. I was ready to start digging in when I luckily noticed something. She had put shrimp on my dish. I knew I was quite allergic to shrimp, so I was surprised Kayla had even brought this to me. Disappointed, I shook my head and got up to get my own lunch. Just then, Jamie approached me to congratulate me on my pregnancy. After a little conversation, he asked why I hadn't been eating. I pointed out that Kayla had served me shrimp, probably by error. Jamie reassured me not to worry, took the dish from my hands, and said he'd have it since he loved shrimp. I could just get a fresh plate. I nodded, grinned, and turned aside. Not even 5 minutes later, Jamie began to puke and retch violently across his dish. Everyone stopped eating, concerned, watching him stagger to get out of his seat. Harry and Kayla rushed towards him. Jamie gestured at his plate, then at his throat. Our eyes grew wide with amazement as we realized what he had eaten had definitely made him violently ill. Jamie passed out, and everyone gasped in amazement and worry. Kayla hurried over to examine his dish, and her eyes went wide with shock. She turned to stare at me and inquired whether I had handed her husband my plate. I nodded. Amidst the tumult, someone called for an ambulance, and he was rushed to the hospital. Through all of this, Kayla was sobbing nonstop and staring angrily at me. Later, we were told Jamie had been poisoned. Knowing that the plate had originally belonged to me, I nearly passed out. Jamie had consumed something that could have poisoned me and my unborn baby. At this point, Harry, my in-laws, and my parents had no idea, as nobody knew what was in the food that had caused him to faint in such a manner. The police were summoned to collect evidence. Jamie is still recovering in the hospital as I type this. Kayla stayed with him overnight, but Harry and I have been fielding calls from relatives trying to find out what happened and who might have poisoned him. My in-laws are utterly shaken by what's transpired. They're sleeping over at our house, terrified to return home. Nobody understands what happened so abruptly, especially when everything had been going so nicely. I am absolutely terrified to tell everyone that the plate originally belonged to me and how Kayla had come and presented it to me. If this evolves into an inquiry, I will have to tell the police the truth. Most importantly, I am now utterly concerned about what Kayla could do to me. I feel awful about what has transpired. I don't want to be around her, nor can I bring my kids anywhere close to her. She clearly has no restraints about trying to poison me, and I feel so guilty about handing Jamie my meal, potentially contaminating him. Midway subscribe line. Phew. If you're still with me after all that, you know this story is far from over. Trust me, it only gets more intense. So, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories like mine. Update 1*. Wow, thanks for the thousands of comments on this post in just a few hours. I never would have guessed I'd receive so many answers. I typed this earlier with shaking hands and haven't been able to sleep. Despite what everyone says, I do feel somewhat accountable for the event involving Jamie. I should have simply tossed the dish away. I'm not sure why I let him grab it from me. I keep crying about his future, knowing something is terribly wrong. My hubby has been hovering close to me, though he doesn't know what I know about his sister. He believes I'm only worried about Jamie. I agree with the comment saying I should gently sit down and talk to everyone, although I'm not sure if they'll believe me. My in-laws do have security cameras set all around the house, given that this birthday celebration took place in their backyard. I'm confident they could check and confirm via their camera that Kayla presented me the plate. I'll speak with everyone tonight, then update. Already staying over with us, so I sat down with Harry and them over dinner to let them know I had something crucial to share. I began by inhaling deeply, the weight of the circumstances slumping on my shoulders. Everyone gathered around. I related the birthday party's events, including how Kayla had handed me a plate of prawns, and how Jamie had unintentionally consumed it, causing his sickness. Their shock and incredulity reflected my own as I spoke. My in-laws looked at each other, clearly worried. Harry's face transformed from uncertainty to absolute rage. I went on, expressing my concern about Kayla's intentions and past attempts to hurt me. Faced with the possible repercussions for myself and our unborn child, I hesitated to share this material. Being the pragmatic woman my mother-in-law is, she immediately advised looking at the security camera tape, given the gravity of the matter. My father-in-law nodded in agreement, though clearly shaken. Harry stayed quiet, processing the startling disclosure. Reviewing the security footage from their camera app, the truth was indisputable. The video clearly shows Kayla presenting the poisoned plate to me, and then what happened to cause Jamie's suffering. The weight of the data left no space for uncertainty. As the knowledge sank in, emotions ran strong. Now totally aware of his sister's evil intentions, Harry battled to control his wrath. My in-laws were horrified by their daughter's actions, finding the extent she had gone to cause disturbance absolutely shocking. Stunned in silence, we tried to figure out why she would act in such a manner. Given this is a very serious issue, my in-laws have opted to forward this material to the police. Jamie is the one who has to lodge charges against Kayla, so my father-in-law and Harry will be visiting and meeting him after he recovers. I want to cry every time I consider how I let Jamie have my poison dish. I have no idea how Jamie will react. I am very anxious about him, so I cannot eat or sleep properly. I will let you know about anything noteworthy. Update 3 asterisk. Alright everyone, I'm back with an update at last. I know it's been a month since my previous update, but right now, I'm a pregnant woman experiencing a lot. First things first, she was detained. After seeing the proof my in-laws handed the recording to the police, Kayla admitted everything right away and didn't even dispute the claims. She started crying. Jamie was as startled as any of us when Harry approached him about what had transpired. Harry told him he would always be a part of our family, regardless of what he decided to do, but advised him to press charges against his sister, as this was such a wicked thing to do. Once Jamie recovered, he not only chose to prosecute charges but also sought a divorce. Emotional and begging them to pardon her, Kayla called my in-laws. As it happens, Kayla is pregnant herself. She tried to manipulate them by telling them they should do this for the benefit of their granddaughter, begging them to bail her out. My father-in-law strongly advised her, nevertheless, that she should at last learn to own her actions and that they were done coddling her. Though my mother-in-law is quite depressed about what is happening to her daughter, she knows that her actions cannot be simply forgiven. The police discovered proof she had tampered with a meal meant to harm me, which backfired and resulted in injury to her own husband. She has been charged with several offenses, including risking life, causing damage, and tampering with food, thereby compromising integrity. Anyhow, Kayla had been pleading with Jamie not to charge her, saying how this was all my fault. Fortunately, Jamie's mind is set on punishing her. Her court hearing will begin shortly. I doubt she can flee this time. My son and I are doing okay, to everyone inquiring. He is clueless about what his aunt has done. Harry and I have discussed this, and we do intend to sit down with him and tell him the truth, as we want our son to know and avoid these circumstances. Having a difficult but absolutely vital conversation with a young child will be challenging but essential. As instructed by my doctor, I also get frequent ultrasounds for my pregnancy every 2 weeks. We want the gender to be a surprise, so we do not intend to find out. Knowing what has happened to Kayla, my parents have been somewhat protective of me. They are urging me to seek treatment since they are concerned this could compromise my psychological well-being during the pregnancy. I agree with them, as while behaving normally, I have a deep-rooted phobia of what Kayla did to my meals and avoid eating any outside food or anything I haven't made myself. Hopefully, Harry will help me to overcome this illogical phobia, as he knows about it and supports me all through. Update 4 asterisk. I last checked 8 months ago. Kayla is a prisoner right now. She was found guilty on the allegations. Though I never went to her court hearings, occasionally my in-laws would tell me how Kayla came clean to the court, admitting years of intense jealousy of me. She had always dreamed of one of her best friends marrying Harry, so when he started dating me, she would always try to harass me, since she never wanted an outsider to marry her brother. She became consumed with jealousy when we announced we were expecting at Harry's birthday party, as she was also going to reveal her own pregnancy. She wanted to share her wonderful news, especially after her previous miscarriage, but she felt we stole her opportunity to shine. In a fit of rage, fueled by pregnancy hormones, she mixed a little bit of rat poison with my supper. She said she wanted me to wind up in the hospital, but she never wanted to physically hurt the baby or myself. She even argued she deserved a reduced punishment since she never expected me to offer her husband my plate, claiming I essentially poisoned her spouse. Of course, the judge dismissed her absurd pleadings. She was put in prison and will be far from our life for a considerable while. Jamie is also at last free, as she has also effectively divorced him. We have seen him over the months and keep including him in our family events whenever we can. He informed me that it was never my fault when we spoke, and I profusely apologized to him for handing my plate to him. Hearing that, I started to cry, having rehearsed it over and over again in my thoughts, wishing I could have done things differently so he was never poisoned. It makes me happy that Jamie is doing well right now. Regarding Harry and myself, our family now boasts a beautiful baby daughter. Her presence has warmed and lit our life, despite the shadows of the past still lingering. Being a big brother makes our son Nate very happy, and he has been loving and caring toward his little sister. Seeing our kids connect makes us appreciate things even more. My parents and in-laws have been there for us all through, guiding us through this new phase of our life. Life has a way of throwing unimaginable darkness our way, but it also shows us the incredible strength we possess and the love that can truly heal. It's a journey, and every day we choose light over shadow. So, I have to ask, if you were in my shoes, what would have been your breaking point? And how would you have found the strength to move forward after such a devastating betrayal? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Thank you for watching.